Good deal. Alrighty then, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Taking a quick look at the agenda here. We were not provided any public comment, so, we don't have any of that this morning. And then we're just gonna go into the action items and discussions. I think I want to start with, does anyone have any comments or follow-ons from the discussion last night?
No, I think it was a good discussion. I the changes that we made, and I think we have good direction.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we got the direction we need to keep this ball rolling.
And Barb, I want to thank you for, should have thought of that, but I think that was, yes, yeah, because we definitely appreciate what Rusty and Kelly and Bruce have been doing.
Yes.
Okay, and I just wanted to let you know that yesterday I asked, Bruce, and he passed it on to finance, to the list of businesses that we had. It looked like it might have been missing, so I asked to get the full listing. It doesn't include contractors, so it really is just non-contractor businesses, and it added maybe 70 businesses to the list, but the majority of them are ones that are not tourist-related brick and mortar. The main ones that I saw that might show up in the applications were some of the salons in town, like, does hair for weddings or something.
Oh.
So there were, a few more ones, but it wasn't an overwhelming addition.
Yesterday.
Carolyn,
Yes.
just one procedural note. I know it's onerous, but I need Jim and Barb to announce their potential conflicts before we move forward.
Okay.
It's at the start of every meeting where this is discussed.
Okay, so every meeting we'll need to do that?
Yep, unfortunately.
All right, thank you. Barb?
Okay, I need to claim a, I forgot the word, potential conflict of interest due to my employment.
Okay.
And the fact that I'm the executive director for the Chamber of Commerce, I have a potential conflict of interest with all the members of the chamber. And I feel like I can still perform these duties without any bias.
And I feel the same way.
Great, thank you, and I'll remember to ask for that at the beginning of each meeting. Thank you for that reminder, Ashley.
Sure, sorry to interrupt.
It's okay. I think we'll start, we'll ask Rusty. You said that the link is now live on the page. So is there a link from the homepage or just from our committee page?
Right now, if you go on the main page under current topics, you'll see it right at the very top. It says it right
Perfect.
here.
Perfect, that's, okay, great.
And I'll send a link over to Jim so he can send that out to the chamber.
Okay,
Yeah, if you copy Buddy on that, she could work on it
perfect,
too.
great. Feels like a big milestone that we've passed, so it's out there and we'll be accepting applications through May the 6th.
So one question, there are the two
Yes.
applications that we got one last night during the meeting, and we had the existing one when we were doing the testing portion. What do we want to do with those existing applications? Do you want them to accept as is or have them resubmit?
Resubmit.
Yeah, well, you obviously, we can send to them because we have the email address, but Kelly's suggestion of sending them all of the comment or all of the inputs that they already provided so that if they didn't save that, they at least have that information and ask them to resubmit. Is everyone okay with that?
Officially submit.
Yeah,
through
officially,
the
yeah,
now open portal.
right.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
yeah.
Who will be taking care of that? Do you want me to do that?
Sure, I can send you the
Send you that info.
information.
Okay. So by doing that, the format of the data will be consistent for everyone who submits from now on, and we won't have okay.
Yeah,
That's
because
great.
we've removed a couple of questions, I think, since then.
Yes,
right.
Changed some language and that kind of stuff. So.
Right. Okay, great. So what we were going to discuss today was reporting criteria, our forward plans, and if there's any other thoughts on evaluation criteria. Let's start with that. If anyone has some additional comments or
So
thoughts
I have one
on.
more thing to add to the agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, interrupting. We have a draft grant agreement to discuss, and I don't know if Bruce has circulated that, but I would like to add that to the agenda sometime today.
So the grant agreement would be something that the applicant would need to sign when they receive the funds, or is it a reporting requirement?
When they receive the funds.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we'll talk that when we talk the forward plans. Okay.
I'll go print that.
Okay. So, any comments on the, evaluation criteria, or are we all okay with what our plan is on that?
I've had some conversations about that, and one of the concerns that people, let me know about, that they felt it was, kind of employee-driven, a lot of our questions. And so they were concerned that that would be a weighing factor in those decisions. And they felt like it was just too heavily weighted with employee questions, when really what the businesses probably need most is mortgage or rent use or utility use for these funds. And so they were concerned that if they didn't have employees, or their employees were different, that they would be weighted less and not receive a fair amount of funding. And so I just wanted to bring that up as a concern that I've heard, because I think we put those questions in so that we could get an understanding of where they're at with their employees. And we also understand that many small businesses have limited number of employees, but I don't feel like the employee factor is a huge part of that, although it is an important part of that. So I don't want anyone I wouldn't want them to feel like they're being devalued or because of their level of employees.
I would suggest to those people that they make sure they put the responses, because I think that's where we would pick up the need for rent or utilities or.
Right, because we have asked those questions as well.
Right.
And, I talked to business owners, and their point was the business needs the help. The employees who are laid off are getting unemployment and have help. So that was their concern, is if we were requiring them to put these funds towards employees, then that might change how this application process goes, or the dispersal of funds goes, and they were concerned about that.
Yeah, I'd say it sounds like from your guys' conversations that you're just trying to look for the whole picture, and you're not taking that into consideration to weigh them more in. So if you just communicate that to them, that just to get an idea, and you have all individually recognized the owner-run businesses as an important part too.
But the other thing we need to keep in mind in terms of the employees is there's a lot of them that haven't received a penny because of the unemployment, scenarios. So hopefully take that.
There's also the aspect of the employees that can't receive unemployment.
Or undocumented.
Too, that I know some of the businesses are keeping those people working and keeping those people on staff. So that is an additional expense that the business is incurring too.
Right.
So there's a lot of every business is different.
Exactly.
And I hope that we can get those numbers as part of our data portion, but certainly in the question and comment section, we get those, that information through that portal for each business, so we can consider those.
Yeah, and we just need to encourage the applicants to, use the essay portion of the questions to, really convey that message, and so that we can weight that properly.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you for bringing that up, though. So the two things kind of going forward is the forward plan, and the first step is going to be the process for, okay, we've done our review, we've provided the recommendation to council, and then when council accepts the recommendation or makes some changes to it, then it goes into how does the process go from there? And I wish Bruce was here for this one in terms of, I think this feeds into, Ashley's addition to the agenda of the draft, grant agreement, and how does that work in terms of, is everything going in the mail and then they have to send it back, or I don't know how it works with other grants. Barb, if you-
The community grants go in the mail, and then they're, you know, kind of formally presented at a city potluck.
Do they have to do, some sort of grant agreement?
Yes,
Is that something that gets mailed with the check and then they
yes.
send it back?
Yeah, and then there's some they have to do a follow-up, same with the TAF
Okay,
grants.
like a reporting.
Right.
Well, TAF grants are a little bit different in that we are approved for those, and then we come in and sign the contract, because those payments come out quarterly.
That's true, yeah.
So that contract agreement happens before payments go out.
Do you sign the contract after the first payment? I mean, right as you're getting the first payment, or actually?
Once the council approves that, we come in and sign the contract.
So it's changed.
Leads into the year of the quarterly payments, so, it's a little bit different than it sounds like you guys handle the grant
Right.
process. So we probably need to figure out the best way to handle it for this, situation. Ashley, do you have a recommendation? for
Yeah,
that?
so my understanding is for the community grants, there is not a formal grant agreement. For the TAF grants, there is a more robust agreement. And there's more, I would say, more of a need for a grant agreement with the TAF funds, because there's a lot more strings attached that, you know, you have to use the funds for this specific project. You have to show that you use the funds for this specific project. There's a midterm reporting requirement, and then an end reporting requirement. So what I'm trying to do is strike the balance between, you know, just essentially giving the money out and having a agreement that is as involved as the TAF, the one that you guys have for the TAF fund. I circulated a draft to staff, gosh, was it yesterday? The days all are running together. I think there were some concerns about getting a W-9 and also figuring out how folks wanted to receive the funds. Did they want a hard check? Did they want direct deposit? I would like some feedback. You know, are most of these businesses in town? Could they easily come into the city, pick up a hard check, sign a grant agreement, fill out a W-9 and leave? Or would that be too cumbersome?
My sense is they could do that. I think the question there is how comfortable are the folks in, staff with having that number of people come into the facility?
Right.
I think maybe we need to, I agree, think of the process through. If we receive an application and we go through the process and the council's going to approve that at that time, there's gonna be some sort of notification that they were approved, correct?
Right.
Could we include that form?
The grant agreement?
The W-9, the grant agreement and that, for them to accept their approval? Or, because, you know, maybe somebody applies for the grant and then other stuff comes through and they don't need it, would be a possible scenario. I doubt that we'll see that, but, and then they can return those either PDF or whatever, and then we can send the checks once those are in. Because I think from the city's perspective, you're gonna want those turned in, would you not?
Yeah.
Well, you actually have, if it's over 600, you have to have the W-9.
Right.
Yeah.
Is Bruce not back yet?
No, he's not back yet.
Okay, so these are some of the things we talked about with Bruce. I mean, that's my ideal situation, and I feel like most businesses are going to have the ability to print and scan and email back. And if we already have their email addresses, I think that makes a ton of sense, Jim, that we just say we have a standard email like, you've been awarded X grant amount, you know, in order to receive the funding, we need you to fill out this grant agreement, the W-9, and return, please return, you know, maybe give them 48 hours or whatever you guys think is appropriate. And then once we get that, we could also, you know, say, let us know how you want your check. You know, do you want us to mail a check or do you want us to do direct deposit? If you want to do direct deposit, here's the information we're going to need from you. So that makes a ton of sense to me. Again, I like the grant agreement. We don't need something that's 9 pages long. I think the one I have is just, you know, 2, essentially saying that they understand that if they've provided false information, that the city would be, you know, looking to collect the funds from them. And, you know, if something changes between now and when we disperse the funds, that, you know, we reserve the right to not do this. And then any requirements, I have a placeholder for the final report.
Right, yeah. I was thinking that at that time we'll want to
Tell them
that.
tell them what's involved with the final report, which is one of the things we're gonna discuss today. Well, maybe we should discuss that now while we're waiting on Bruce to come back. He went to get a copy, I think, of the draft agreement. So what's your thoughts on the reporting requirements?
What we just discussed.
Well, no, I think
that-
Ashley said she has a place for the reporting requirements. So what is it that we feel is needed from a reporting perspective in terms of
You mean post-grant?
post-grant?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we need to determine that they spent the money, you know, for what they had requested.
How do we ask them to demonstrate that?
Well, I mean, when I'm thinking like with the community grants, they do a project, you know, most of them are project driven. And they do a narrative on the project, and then they usually have some financial report that shows the, you know, the income coming in and the expenses going out for that project.
So how would you adapt that for this situation? You know, let's take an example. Say that on their application, they said they were going to use the money for rent and utilities, which is something that they are always paying anyway. So, what would be an adequate, report or proof of that?
A P&L with, you know, for the month that they spent the money on, and you know, that would show the income coming in from the city grant and then the expenses.
Well, is that something that we want to ask them for if they have other expenses and income outside of this grant? I mean, is that something that they're going to want to share and it to be part of in the public?
Well, you could filter the report depending on their accounting software, or they could just do it as a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't know, maybe some of the smaller businesses don't do something that, you know, in depth. I don't really know. I mean, I would like it to be something that is doable by everybody.
And I think, again, we're running into the possibility of these being public records of their business's financial situation at the time, which will be concerning for a lot of people.
Is it public?
Will this all be public record, Ashley, in terms of their grant reporting?
Generally speaking, yes. Like unless there's, you know, if they include a social security number or that kind of stuff, we could probably use an exemption. But I think we should operate under the premise that, yeah, that if somebody requested all of this information, we would be providing it. Can I throw out just an idea? So when I was looking at the, you know, the grant form that we've been using for CAF, you know, that was very project specific. I haven't been involved in the community grant, so I don't know as much as how that one works. But it seems like for this, you know, we are asking people to tell us their needs, and then we are going to, you know, give them funds. Are we really going to track that if we give somebody, you know, $10,000 that they're using it in exactly the way that they told us they needed it? Or are we just asking them to, you know, provide a narrative about how this money assisted them through this time period? And if we are really wanting them to only use it for this specific purpose, I can add language back into the agreement that basically says that they're verified that they're going to spend the you know, the $10,000 from Cannon Beach on X, Y, and Z purposes, and then we're asking them to show that they only spent it on X, Y, and Z purposes.
And, you know, being able to prove that you spent the specific money that was given as part of the grant on X, Y, and Z, where they might have their expenses are X, Y, and Z plus A. And, you know, to me, I think that doesn't necessarily, isn't necessarily the best approach. I like the idea of them running some sort of narrative that, you know, acknowledges that they did spend the money on whatever they ended up spending it on, and how it has impacted the operation of their business without any specifics of the financials of the business.
Right. Could we just put in, I'm kind of leaning towards more of another questionnaire where the amount of, certainly, how much funding did they receive?
Mm-hmm.
We'll know that, but that should be part of what they report. If they spent it on mortgage and rent, did they spend it on utilities? Did they spend it on employees? Did they spend it on restocking merchandise? Did they spend it on
Advertising.
emergency equipment for reopening? Did they spend it on advertising?
Right.
We could put some of those categories out so that they could put in the numbers, and then we could have another category and then ask them to explain how it helped their business or how they used it to
What
support
was the impact, right?
Yeah.
So
What was the
are you-
impact?
Jim, are you thinking like a survey monkey? Like the final report essentially would be, you know, please fill out this post-grant questionnaire?
That's kind of how I look at it. If we can lay that out so it's uniform for everybody, then that gives us the ability to say all the businesses spent this much on these categories, and we can kind of report back on the success of the program. Hopefully.
Yeah, I would suggest the more simpler you keep it, the better.
Yeah.
So the more just straight up narrative driven
Okay.
it is, because it's always possible they may say, like, request something initially and then 2 weeks later, a different cost that's still
Right.
relevant to something that we would want to fund is more important to immediately address.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to, like, you know, pigeonhole it so much as like you must spend on what you requested it for.
Okay, so we're saying like, what did you spend the grant funding on? And then, kind of give them, some categories, the ones you listed: payroll, or employees, rent, utilities.
Advertising,
Let's see.
merchandise,
And
I like the emergency
you know,
supplies, those things.
yeah, because there's going to be a lot of, in order to reopen and get to that point, there's going to be a lot of need to get new equipment and new processes for businesses to open. So I can see people using it for that as well. And I don't think these are all inclusive or required expenditures, but I think these are some consistent ones we'll see across the board. And so I think if we can kind of gather that, and there may be things out there that we haven't considered or are aware of that businesses might. So kind of the other category and an explanation box to go with it might be important too.
And would it be possible after we've seen the applications, we're gonna get a better idea of if we forgot a category?
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Of that. So we don't, this tool doesn't need to be finalized
Right.
right away.
So, let me just read what we had, the ones that were thrown out, let me know if I missed one. We have employees, merchandise, emergency equipment, rent/mortgage, utilities, advertising.
Do we have like equipment lease or anything like that?
Oh, that's good.
Equipment lease.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take that as, so, bigger picture, what we're talking about for reporting really is, like a simple survey. What did you spend the money on? And then maybe give them an open question box where they can provide any narrative that they select to do.
I like this idea because
We
it
can do
keeps them accountable to demonstrating, you know, they demonstrated a need, and then we're asking them to demonstrate how they've spent it and then provide feedback. So I like it.
So on the statement on the draft grant agreement where you have the empty, or the spot for the post-grant reporting, is it, we probably need to convey, I think you mentioned this before, one of you mentioned it, that they don't necessarily have to spend it exactly on what they requested it for, because I think Kelly mentioned that something might come up.
Things can change.
And it might change, so, so I think the points for that part of the document is that it will be a simple post-grant survey, asking you for what the funds were spent for and giving you an opportunity to provide a narrative.
Yeah.
And with the understanding that we're not holding you to spending the grant funds exactly on what you specified on the application, but they still need to be spent on something that is sustaining your business.
Yeah, I think the importance of this is to get feedback from everybody that receives a grant on how it was beneficial to their business.
Right.
Um,
So maybe the narrative would say, how is this, like a narrative of how is it beneficial to your business?
Yeah, how was it spent and how was it beneficial?
Yes. And it kind of follows go ahead, Ashley.
Oh, no, sorry. It's so hard to not interrupt because I can't see when you guys are about to speak. So for the agreement, I'm just putting complete and return a post-grant survey regarding your use of funds and the benefit of the program.
Yep.
Okay, and that gives us flexibility
really-
to do what we want.
Yep. And this kind of follows kind of the same approach we're taking with the applications, where there's kind of a data part, where how did you spend the money, and then an essay part, so it kind of mirrors that, which I think is, you know, gives them the opportunity to.
Yeah, I feel like that covers it. If that covers the city's need for reporting and support of this program.
And Bruce isn't back
So
yet,
is
but
that? No.
Nope.
Yeah, we
Okay.
lost them.
so I think I'm not going to speak for him, but I think his main objective all along is just making this as easy as possible for people. So I think that would align with his objectives, but I will verify with him.
Okay.
Yeah, because that seems like something they could do in 5 minutes.
Right.
Does the city does the city council have to approve that form also?
The draft grant agreement?
No. So you guys got delegated authority last night, and one of them is to develop this agreement.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll wait on seeing that from Bruce. So what else do we need to talk about?
I just want to double check real quick logistically on the scoring system, because I put together a spreadsheet, and so the first is you guys have your eligibility system, which were you doing that as a binary, just yes or no?
That's correct.
Yep.
Okay. And then the other two sections you were doing 1 through 4, right?
0 through 4.
0 through 4. Okay.
Right.
0 through 4, and then you want me to sum all of your individual scores and then report the average
Yeah, an average and a,
and then standard deviation.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Three of us, that's gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so one of the questions after talking to people and especially about the employment aspects and the subjective versus the data-driven stuff, do we want to weight those categories differently? Like the data-driven might be more important or weighted heavier than the questions and essay portion?
Yeah, because right now I have them equal.
You're right. I'm just throwing out the question. I know from my perspective, I'm more data-driven and spreadsheet-oriented, so I would lean that way personally, but I don't know if we want to consider that as part of the weighing process here.
Well, I mean, initially, I think I would lean that way, because I'm a data-driven person too, but I'm not sure that the data-driven portion is going to be as clear in terms of, you know, the need as the essays are going to be, because, you know, the questions that we've asked, there's just so many permutations of them. You know, you have a business that, and this is Bruce's example, you have a business that has chosen to stay open because they could, and they wanted to keep more of their employees on, and that number might look, however you analyze that, you know, might be either favorable or unfavorable compared to somebody who has let all their employees go, but there is a value for an employer trying to, you know, maintain their employees. And I've been trying to figure out how to take those data-driven numbers and come up with a 0 to 4 rating based on those, and I'm like, it's not as clear-cut as it seems.
Plus, there's such a variety of need
Mhm.
that, I don't know if it's possible or fair to wait till we've seen them to do the weighting.
That's an easy thing to add after the fact if you guys
Yeah.
changed your mind. But I do kind of think it gives the perspective right now of both are asking about need. They're both asking about the same thing, just in different ways.
Right.
So
Right.
it seems easy enough to kind of keep them equal.
For now, and if we, you know, if we all come to a totally different conclusion after we review the data, then, you know, try to adjust the weighting between the two. And I mean, we could do that, it could just be a simple multiplication factor in there on the one weighting, and we could do that as a spreadsheet driven.
And as reviewers, you guys have the ability to do that within your own scoring.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So are you comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just thought it was worth, discussing before we go into the process,
Okay.
so that we're all doing it on the same, the equal and fair way of going through it. So, yep. As long as we're all on the same page, I'm happy to move forward.
So I think one other thing we need to talk about is deadline,
Okay.
is for the grant. Are we saying if it's not in by 5 p.m., Wednesday, May 6th?
Well, I think so. I mean,
That's why we call it a deadline.
that's why we call it a deadline. And I know, I mean, that's what the community grant does. I don't know if TAF does the same thing. It's like, here's the deadline.
Right.
You know, you need to be in by, that time.
A hard deadline, or are you guys gonna be like a little graceful if someone submits 5 minutes afterwards? Yeah.
Maybe Rusty can, address this, if we close that at a certain time, and I'm assuming through the portal or the electronic system, whenever that turns off, it's gonna turn off.
Can you like break well, you can't really take the link away. If somebody knows what the URL is, it's still there.
Yeah, but I can lock the form so it won't accept any more input.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, is that an automatic time frame?
It's not, but I can go in and do that. I'll just make a note, a reminder to go in and do it at,
5 o'clock on
5
Wednesday.
o'clock on the 6th. Yeah.
And, you know, I think we need to really do that because, I mean, we've got a very aggressive schedule here in terms of it. And, you know, we want to give staff the opportunity to do what they need to do on Thursday to compile everything and to get the information ready for us. And then we'll have 3 days before we come back and start discussing again.
So then the other question I have is, paper applications, which there are going to be some. How do they get those turned in with our current status at City Hall? Do they have to call to make an appointment
There's
to
a
have it
Dropbox.
picked up? Or there's Dropbox,
There is one.
There's a Dropbox?
like where you put your water bill and stuff?
Or they can email it.
They could email it too, yeah.
Right. But there, I could envision that there's some businesses that, you know, they want to do it paper and hand it to
Yeah,
the person.
I think we're trying to address the people that aren't comfortable with digital
Sure.
processes, and how do they get that turned in?
Can we add on the webpage, they could pick up a paper copy and drop it off both instead of just having to print and email themselves? Either are option.
Would they have to come into the building to do that? To drop off, you said, is there
There is a drop-off for utility bills outside.
okay.
And I
But-
kind of feel like that's a staff consideration.
Yeah.
but
Right.
Yeah, because
Process.
they could just,
The staff has,
give a call and we could print and bring it out to them.
Yeah, 'cause it's locked, so you'd have to bang on the door for somebody to
come get you.
to open it, yeah,
But if we just told somebody to like call ahead to pick up a paper application.
probably the easiest way.
So how do we convey that to people? Will you disseminate that in the?
I absolutely will disseminate that, and if we have that paper process, we can share that, the PDF, so they can download it. We'll do everything we can to make sure everybody has every option available.
And the first page of the application down at the bottom, it has a link to get a PDF version of the document.
And I could put a link right on there to say, if you want to pick up a hard copy, whatever our language is, call City Hall and we can make sure you can kind of get that.
And
Would it be possible to have them at the it doesn't matter where they get the paper.
Too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's true.
I was
Duh.
No, we're not open, but
Okay, that's true.
we can be available to businesses. It would be the same situation of calling and letting us know so that we can make sure somebody's there to.
Probably easy enough to do City Hall.
Okay.
Somebody's always gonna be,
Okay.
so if we,
You guys have staff here all the time.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
in and out
right.
from our offices.
So we'd wanna add that on kind of the front page, a link to if you need to pick up a paper copy, call City Hall. And then we would say that if you want to drop off your application, put it in the drop box.
Still same time.
City Hall.
Still same time.
What does the drop box say? Does it say something, or is it the box?
I think it says utility.
Oh, whatever it says, let's
Yeah,
say
we can
drop
go
box.
real quick, but it is just like a little poll box, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Simple.
They just use that same process with the community grants, I believe.
Okay.
Because those were due, was it last week?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they did.
I think Jen was monitoring the box out there to,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so it worked, yeah.
So if we just add that information on the
yeah.
page, and you can convey that information in your,
So we're gonna link everybody to the page.
okay,
Directly to it.
right,
So.
okay. So, let's see, so they drop off the applications, we go through the process, council does the review and, okay. So after that, that's when we would send out the, draft grant agreement that, Ashley has drafted along with the W-9 form. And they will respond with
How they want the check.
the check.
Seems straightforward.
Seems
The
straightforward.
check and we'll be finished.
All
So
right.
I feel like this is gonna come up, so I'm
Bruce
gonna,
is back. Bruce is back. Dun, da, da, da. Bruce is here now.
okay.
Did you fall asleep?
Right?
Well, somebody asked me a question.
No.
So I feel like this is gonna come up, just so I'll address it right now. So, when we're talking about people having an option to do direct deposit, and we've talked about how all the information they're gonna submit to us is public record. Occasionally, exemptions would apply to some of the information they're providing under the confidential submissions. It's like a 5-part test to be able to have a confidential submission, and it's on a public interest balancing test. All this is to say is that I don't want us to necessarily rely on it for a lot of the information submitted. However, bank account information submitted in order for us to do direct deposit would definitely be a confidential submission. So we can make that clear to folks that that would be a part that would not be disclosed if they wanted to go that avenue. Do we want to catch Bruce up on the application agreement?
We lost him again.
We lost
He
him
left?
again. He dropped off the, yeah, he gave us all the copy of the agreements, then he turned around and he went out again.
Ran out.
Is it because I started
we're-
talking
we're
about
gonna-
public records?
No, not that at all. We're gonna just, take a brief minute and read through what's here, and then we'll talk again. do we want to set a date for them to, return the final report? You know, like
Deadline?
a deadline, like, I don't have any suggestions, but a deadline with respect to when they receive the funds, you know, as the reference point or a specific date?
How about we do something like, because then it gets us to when are we gonna get this survey out? So under that portion where I put final report, I added complete and return a post-grant survey regarding your use of funds and the benefit of the program. Should we say, you know, within 7 days of receipt or something like that? Or do we want 14 days?
I'd say at least 14,
Okay,
especially if, you know, after we give them, then it's real close to businesses being able to be open again. There's gonna be lots going on.
Right, and depending when bills are due, you kind of want to give a decent amount of time.
Right.
Yeah.
So is it 14 days from the date that they sign this agreement?
no, I would say 14 days from receiving the survey.
Receiving the survey, okay.
Because we don't, I
Oh,
mean,
that makes sense. And then,
Yeah.
that way we would control when the survey goes out based on when all the, after the funds are dispersed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, no, I
It
like
would,
that.
it would be difficult to do that on an
Different
individual basis.
Yeah,
Because depending on how the checks go out and then
They're
these
gonna
come
come-
back,
yeah,
we're gonna have to wait till all of that's dispersed and done, and then
Survey goes
open
out.
the survey.
Right.
So I think that makes more sense.
yeah. So 14 days after the survey is sent.
Right.
And the process on this, Ashley, is that the recipient has to return this agreement before the funds are distributed, is that correct?
yes.
Okay.
Does it have anywhere in there about a W-9 though?
No, I have not added that yet. So I'm gonna round up with Lori and Juana and make sure that we may just put a link or we may attach it.
Okay.
I think attaching
And then-
is best.
Yeah.
We'll also do some sort of form
Keep it
with
in.
how you want to receive your payment.
Right. And so once the applicant has filled this out and, you know, they're wanting to get their award as quickly as possible, I assume we would provide the option to put it in Dropbox as well, if they don't want to mail it back?
That's, oh, you mean this,
This,
right, yeah.
This,
are you okay with that, Bruce?
I'm concerned that if, 4 of you turn it in immediately and I turn it in a week later, do we wait until we have all of them? Or are we gonna do separate check runs?
That's up to,
That'd be a staff.
No, I know, but I'm saying, but that's, what I see is just,
Do you do a weekly check run?
yeah, we do a weekly check run, but I would,
We could have,
if we have this, I would like to do the checks and get them out, as opposed to phasing it depending on when somebody gives us gives us this, because then we'll be dealing with it for weeks.
so Bruce, we could have the checks ready to go, and then as soon as we receive the application, drop them in the mail.
I guess,
Well, we had talked about maybe this goes out with the check, but then we're waiting for that to come back. And we
Oh, you
figured
can't, yeah.
that probably wasn't the way the city wanted to handle that.
yeah, I mean, there's no guarantee we would ever see this, so.
I like Ashley's idea where you kind of just do you generate all the checks, so they're ready for when you get these back from each of the applicants. But I think that's totally a staff call, how
Well,
it
but
works for you.
Then if we're asking them whether they want direct deposit or a check, then we've wasted the time of creating checks when they may want a direct deposit.
Maybe we don't provide a direct deposit option.
Then we don't have those account numbers to deal with.
Yeah,
You don't do direct deposit for other grant programs?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah,
Just,
I think we want to try to keep it as consistent as possible.
But,
Yeah.
I guess that would be the first question, do you have the ability to do that?
That was a question that was gonna be answered today by staff,
So
but
if that's not a process you have in place or an easy process to put in place, then I think maybe it's better not to go that route. But like you said, that's a staff call.
And keeping in mind, our objective is to try to get the money to the people as fast as we can.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But we'll simplify things if we include the W-9 with the application
Mm-hmm.
and make it a requirement.
And, just to circle back to, the post-grant, final report, what we discussed is just doing like a simple survey, where we'd send a survey out to everybody that asks them, what did you spend the grant funds on, and we'll give them some things to choose from, and then a narrative that's how was this beneficial to your business, so it's simple, and that satisfies that block, and ask them to do that within 2 weeks of the survey going out to them. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, no, that sounds okay. I'll
Okay.
probably make it part of the agreement that you will fill this out, but, I mean, we won't come after them if they don't. So everybody will be busy in that time.
The one other comment I have on this document, agreement, is kind of put in the P.O. box and Cannon Beach, information into the recipient portion. We may have businesses that their office is not in Cannon Beach, although the business is in Cannon Beach, so that might be a little presumptive on
Okay.
that.
Yeah, and even saying Cannon Beach, because some of you might be Tolovana, you
Or
know, so it's,
Seaside,
or Seaside or
yeah.
something, true.
The offices might be somewhere else.
Yeah, just name and address
Yeah,
and phone.
right, take out the PO box too.
Easy enough.
All right. Sounds good. So, do we have anything else that we need to talk about today?
Don't know what to do with that extra time.
The beach is calling. So do we have anything for good of the order?
Just, I'm sorry, I just got waylaid. So it's already on the website.
Yes.
People will be responding. We give it to you once it's compiled after the 6th.
Right.
Is there anything else that, the staff needs to do to?
We're expecting that we would receive them on Friday.
Friday.
Yeah,
Friday morning or something?
Friday morning.
Yeah, would you be able to just send them my way either as they come or at the end of the day or something?
Yeah, we can send them as they come in if you want.
Yeah, that'd be perfect, then we can, sooner I can get them, sooner I can get them to you guys.
I think, if it's possible, maybe, close the business this Friday, if you can at least tell us the number of applications you've gotten to date and the total funding request. And then maybe again on Wednesday, just so we have a,
Oh, like I can just send you a daily report
Yeah,
even of like
yeah.
how many are
how many
coming
have come in and what's the total amount that's been requested. Just so we kind of keep it, you know, keep abreast of
That would be helpful.
Okay,
Yeah.
so daily report
That'd be great.
of, numbers received and, rolling total of amount.
Yeah, rolling total ask.
Kelly, could I be on that list too?
Yeah. Should we put council in there? No, just the committee and Ashley.
I mean, if they ask, I'll give it to them, but this is more internal for you.
Yeah,
Right, okay, yeah.
And I will round up with Lori today and close the loop on the W-2 in this agreement. And when I have a final version, I will send it out to you folks.
Okay.
Great.
Ashley, I have a question. Once we are ready to forward it to, this committee, should we send it, or should I send it to council at the same time?
What do you mean by it?
The agreement?
No, the data.
Well, if we're gonna follow, as far as I believe, if we're gonna follow the same format that we follow with other grant programs, we do not send them the packets until the committee
Yeah, yeah.
has received them and rated them.
So
It's
that,
part of their work session packet.
Right.
so the data would go along with our recommendation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they would get they get all of,
Okay, no, I'm fine with that answer, and that's the way that we've done it consistently, so that's good.
And so per our schedule, the next time that this committee will meet is on Monday, May the 11th, 10 o'clock. And that is to review all of the data. And by that time, after, I think what Kelly had asked is after we do our review, you know, we have the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, she would like to have that back maybe Sunday night so that she could compile our individual data and generate the final scores.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be super early. You can even do Monday morning. As long as give me like an hour before the meeting, because it should be, the spreadsheet's gonna be fairly automated to bring, but whatever your numbers you guys have in.
I'll still shoot for getting to you Sunday night.
Yeah.
You can start on that as early as you.
why don't we say
What
by
can we do with
8 o'clock, 8 PM, Sunday or something like that?
Or 12 p.m. or 12 a.m.
Close.
Deadline.
Yeah.
That's 11.
We'll say what that is. If you don't get it in, you're.
Hey, Kelly,
Oh,
Managed early.
Yeah.
is there a way that I can pre-review the eligibility requirements? So if anybody has any questions for me, I can answer them. So I don't know if I need to review every single application that comes in, but if you're receiving information from all of the committee prior to our meeting, maybe I could review just the ones that we're
Okay.
recommending funding.
Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely do that.
So that would be after our Monday meeting.
No, it's probably after Kelly compiles all the data from or is it? So it's before, you're talking about before our meeting, right, Ashley?
Right, just
To look at
so
the
I can,
eligibility.
if you want to ignore my 2 cents or you want to ask for my 2 cents, I have read the application materials beforehand.
Yes, it would be
Oh,
after
I
you guys
see.
score eligibility.
Okay.
So we actually have that, and then forward, the approved one to Ashley, is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry, there's a
I
little-
guess I need clarification. What your need is.
Ashley, do you want the ones that, that the three reviewers have deemed as eligible?
Yes,
Okay, so,
That'd be after.
should that include the ones that perhaps we have a disagreement on and maybe 2 say it's eligible and 1 say no, and those are ones that are gonna go to council, but we should probably send you those ones as well?
definitely, yep.
So you'll need the whole. And you want that prior to our May 11th meeting so you can give your opinion
That would be
at
ideal.
that meeting?
Yep.
So, if we do the Sunday night, that's gonna be tight.
Yeah,
That would be a tight window for you too, Ashley.
Yeah, Sunday night.
Maybe Monday.
I don't
Yeah.
think Ashley's available Monday afternoon.
I think, yeah, you've got mornings that week, right, Ashley?
Yeah, I'm getting to get some flexibility, so let me take a look at my calendar. So we're talking the week of the 11th.
Yes.
Okay. If we can plan ahead, I can get some flexibility in there. So basically,
How
just
about
to 1 o'clock that Monday, the 11th.
That work for Barb? Jim?
I'm looking.
Jim just giggled.
Yes,
Yes.
as long as we're done by 4:30, I have a Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fairly flexible that day.
Okay, so let's plan on changing the meeting on Monday, the 11th, and we'll start at 1 o'clock, and we'll end hopefully by 4.
Yeah.
And that should give, if we, as the reviewers, give Kelly the comments by Sunday night, she should have time to, in the morning,
I'll forward to Ashley.
forward to Ashley, and then Ashley should have time, hopefully, to review that before we meet at 1.
Perfect.
So once we've submitted our, compiled, we're gonna get that back to have everybody's input, and then we can
So when you send out
prepare for the
on
meeting.
Monday, you'll send out to Ashley as well as to the committee.
Yeah,
So we have the final.
I'll be sending out the review of the committee's eligibility, statuses, and then the scoring, the compiled scoring that everyone has for each individual grant.
At what point will you all be talking about the amount that somebody gets? Is that on Monday?
So same meeting.
11? Okay, all right. And I have one other procedural question. If somebody sends, one of the potential applicants sends a question, I would rather that there just be one person that answers all the questions so there's consistency. That can be a staff member, but I think that I would recommend that it be the chair. And then if you feel that you need assistance with that, that you have the ability to contact Ashley. But there may be questions, and I don't want, ad hoc staff members giving answers and that kind of thing for this. So that would be my recommendation.
So do you anticipate or have people already called?
No, but if somebody emails and says, hey, what about this?
Sure.
Then, it would go to you, and you
Mhm.
can answer, or if you need Ashley's help. But that way, there's a central point that,
How about if the questions come in that, you could send them to me, but could we CC Ashley? So,
sure,
that way she's in
Sure.
with all of that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Ashley?
Yep.
Or is that too much?
No, that's fine.
and,
Okay.
and actually, I think in the interest of transparency, what I would suggest is that, we copy the whole committee, but you all don't respond.
Right.
But what kind of questions are coming in, and if some point we're saying, well, somehow we need to clarify this, anybody can call a meeting, we'll set the meeting to try to resolve it.
Okay.
That's
So-
a good idea.
Okay.
All right.
Right. Anything else?
So just to be clear,
Mm-hmm.
Sunday night by 8 PM,
Are you gonna come and start working at 9 PM, Kelly?
or do we
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to, or do we want to do it
I mean,
later?
I think.
Now that we've moved it, the other meeting?
Well, let's do it just by, really the end of the day on the 10th, because that way Kelly should have them in her inbox in the morning
Okay,
when she gets in, and we'll be able to do what she needs to do at that point. Because I don't necessarily think that you're going to be worrying about that at 9 o'clock on Sunday night.
I'm just home with the corgi. I can barely hop on my laptop and play with some spreadsheets.
Well, again, I just want to make sure that
There's enough
the
time.
reviewers have sufficient time. I mean, we're only talking 3 days there, so let's make sure we get the whole 3
And we
days
can-
so we can do justice to it.
We can communicate a little bit too, as we you guys will be receiving the numbers
Yeah.
of
Right.
how,
Yeah.
the volume you're gonna be dealing with.
Right.
Yeah, I think the volume's gonna dictate a lot.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and I think, trying to keep everybody, not honest, but out of jail. If any of you have questions, send the question to me,
okay.
and then, if I forward it or something like that, but you all can't communicate
Right.
directly with Carolyn. So,
Yeah.
send it to me, and then we'll get it figured out.
I wish there was technology that would allow us to not hit reply all when it's a public meeting.
Okay.
Work on that, Rusty.
On my phone, it really doesn't, there's a very easy one that says reply. I got a reply all, but I gotta search for the reply one.
Oh.
So they make it,
And given that we are only a committee of 3, that really is just, 2 of us is a quorum.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I think we're all aware of that, and we're keeping that in the forefront.
I think Bruce brought up the question of how we're going to, dole out these amounts, and which we know is hard to consider until we see what those numbers look like. But should we have a little discussion on the thought of what that might look like?
Sure.
Because I feel like it might kind of lean into the review process if we had an idea of if there's going to be different levels. Are we trying to just do an even amount for everyone?
Did you want like a meeting when you have the total numbers of the total amount requested and the total applications done, like kind of after that?
Yeah, because I know Seaside did a couple different tiers of payouts.
Right.
Do we want to consider doing that or not,
Because, you know, we didn't put a cap on,
the requests?
on the request or what the grant amount would be, and because we really didn't have any idea of, the volume or what the request would be. So maybe it is a good idea to, after we have, all of the applications in, either next Thursday or Friday, to kind of at least have that discussion once we know those parameters.
Yeah, we have that number at the end of Wednesday, so you could easily put a meeting to discuss what you would want to do on Thursday to address that.
And it would probably be, if we did that, we probably should do it on Thursday before we get any of the applications. So because we should have that discussion before we see anybody's responses.
Right.
But after we know what
Know
the
the
total ask is and the total number of applications. Does that make sense?
Right, because if the number, if doing an even amount, given the applications, seems fair to everybody, then we may go that route. But if we have a huge ask and a huge number, then we're gonna have to figure out some sort of system based on that.
Can I suggest you do that at the Monday meeting? And the reason is, if you just get it, the total, there might be one organization who requests $50,000.
Right.
Which is gonna skew the whole thing in your discussion. Where, excuse me, if you have an idea what the nature of the requests are, you know, any patterns or something like that, then
Like,
you might be able to, you know, give an answer on that.
Data people, we can send like a histogram.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, give us a little
Paragraph, let you know what
yeah.
the ranges are and things like that.
Yeah.
And
You know, not just the total
Without
amount.
giving us business names,
Yeah,
So
not
kinda,
the total
like-
amount, but the actual.
to try to keep it as objective as possible.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Bruce, but I'm just concerned that if we look at all the details of every application, that might sway us in that. So I think having the discussion, but not firmly saying, yea, verily, this is the way we're gonna do it, just maybe discuss,
Okay.
options based on knowing the volume and the total request. So we're talking Thursday, May the 7th. What's the availability?
Do we?
Ashley, do you have a specific constraint on that day? And do you?
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me get my schedule out. So on May the
And Kelly, the
7th.
The 7th, Thursday.
Yeah, I'm available afternoon on that day.
Okay.
Afternoon works for me as well.
Barb,
Me too.
1 o'clock?
Okay, by one, you'd be able to go ahead and do the graphs that you were talking about?
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing it on a rolling basis, so that's no problem.
All right, so let's plan on 1 o'clock on May the 7th, to discuss the total request number and the requested amount and potential ways of figuring out how to distribute the
Yeah, because I feel like going into the review process, knowing how we intend to disperse those funds is gonna kind of lean into how we rate people, so.
All right, so now on the agenda, we have a meeting on the 7th at 1 o'clock, and then the 11th at 1 o'clock. All right. Anything else?
It would help me if, for example, on the 7th, what are we gonna say that agenda is? I mean, we could say review data, or application data, or,
We're gonna say review total,
Requests. Applications and requests.
well, we're not really gonna
No.
review the applications, we're gonna review the number of applications and total
Received and amount requested.
grant funding requested. That's long.
right, so, and then from that, you're gonna come up with a product, it's like what Jim was talking about, how you're gonna proceed.
Yeah,
Right.
So, discussion on how to
on
proceed with,
grant fund distribution
Amount.
Or levels.
approaches to,
There, I like approaches.
approaches to,
you're turning this into a two-page agenda.
Only because,
approaches
To-
for,
To grant fund disbursement.
yeah.
yeah,
I would say approaches.
Right.
I need one of those
Options.
bots that just kind of take all these words and simplify it for you.
Oh, yes, big word boxes. And then, Bruce, I think on this committee's webpage, that meeting that was originally scheduled for the 8th, that's the one that we've moved to the 11th, so that one can get moved on our webpage.
I'm doing it right now.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Rusty.
All right, and then the 7th,
That's
I'm sorry, the 11th.
the 11th, we are going to,
Review.
review grant applications and
Our goal is to finalize the recommendation.
Yeah, say that, finalize grant recommendation.
Develop recommendation on grants to council.
Word box.
Yeah, you need those little AI computers that just take all and spit out what you need.
All right. I'm afraid to ask anything else again. Anything else?
I feel like we've covered as much as we can think of.
Yeah. All right, then, we are adjourned. Thank you
All
all.
right, thank you,
Yep,
guys.
thanks.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks, Ashley.
See you soon, or hear you soon.
Hear you soon.
Okay.